The big story coming out of Braves spring training is that AJ Smith-Shawver did win that final spot in the rotation. I kind of want to go through different scenarios of what is going to happen with AJ Smith-Shawver, because Spencer Strider looks like he could be ready in about 3 or 4 weeks, like end of April at the latest. If everything stays on track, maybe the middle of April. They're not going to push things in. AJ Smith-Shawver's performance could give them some leeway to just say, hey, Spencer, we don't need you yet. Keep ramping things back up. But that's not going to last forever. They're going to want Spencer Strider out there, and Spencer Strider is going to be like, all right, guys, I'm done pitching against these bums in Gwinnett. Call me up to the big leagues. So by the end of April, providing there's no setbacks, he'll definitely be there. And at that point, what happens to AJ Smith-Shawver? I think a 6-man rotation, definitely something that the Braves could utilize. But I just want to make one point. If AJ Smith-Shawver pitches well, if he's out there pitching like he did in spring training, showing that level of stuff, even if the results aren't exactly eye-popping, he has a 3.34 ERA or something like that, the Braves aren't going to want to sit him back. The Braves aren't going to want to sit him down. The Braves are not going to want to send him down. Like, this guy, from a talent perspective, is as good as any arm in the organization. And it feels like he's a pitcher that's turning the corner. And it's not just the high velocity on his fastball. It's his comfortability that he's talked about throughout spring training, throwing from behind in the count, any one of his off-speed pitches, and doing it with confidence and throwing it for strikes. And I think that's a sign of a young guy taking the next step. And if he goes out there and performs well, guys like Grant Holmes, I believe, later on in the season, guys like Ronaldo Lopez even, I think we could see mood back in the bullpen. And we talked about that being a problem area. It's a good problem to have, but I think that's the best case scenario for the Braves. AJ Smith-Shawver, all parties involved. You kind of kill 2 birds with one stone when Spencer Strider returns, if AJ Smith-Shawver can prove to be that guy. And this is his opportunity to do it.
Yeah, it's a check. You can talk about the 6-man rotation, fatigue, Sale, Lopez, Schwelly, Spencer, Holmes. Like, every single one of the guys in the rotation could benefit from an extra day rest every single time through the rotation. And then you just talk about the actual upside of having a guy like Smith-Shawver figure it out. Obviously, that's good. And then you've got the flexibility of having 2 guys that you trust in high leverage situations that are options out of the bullpen in Lopez and Holmes. So you check. Smith-Shawver figuring it out might just be the key to unlocking, the Braves' full potential. And now, obviously, we're talking about health of the entire organization. But in terms of performances, like individual performances, I don't think the team would benefit more from a single individual figuring it out than AJ Smith-Shawver. I'm trying to think, I really like him figuring it out unlocks so many different things for the Atlanta Braves.
I mean, and you forgot one, depth. I mean, just be depth in case of those injuries, in case you have to go back to a 5-man rotation. You don't feel like you're missing anything. Throwing AJ Smith-Shawver, Grant Holmes, Ronaldo Lopez behind Chris Sale, and someone else goes down, whatever it may be. I mean, I would argue, as far as early season developments, first, you have to say Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna Jr.'s health, 2 of the best players at their respective positions in the entire game. But outside of that, I'm right there with you. I think the development and what we see early in the season from AJ Smith-Shawver could be the biggest storyline of the entire first month of the season. I think that unlocks so many different things for this Braves team and gives you another potential frontline arm. I mean, I really think that once he figures it out, it's not ridiculous to say we're going to be talking about him like Spencer Schellenbach, because the stuff is insane. And it's the stuff is insane. As he gets more confidence, as he gets more comfortable, I couldn't be higher on this, but I do think, it's something that you never know with the volatility of young pitchers. But it's the biggest thing, I think, biggest storyline for the Braves, more than winning games. Like, it could unlock so much for this team later in the season, talking about October, talking about September, talking about August, later in the season. I think it's the biggest development of the early season.
Yeah, even when he does eventually get roughed up, because it will happen, depending on who goes forth, Holmes or Smith-Shawver, and it looks like Smith-Shawver might get the ball first game in Chavez Ravine. It does lighten up a little bit in terms of the schedule after that. But, I think what you're talking about in terms of big picture, even, this guy's out of options this time next year. So, like, it isn't put up or shut up time for a guy who's 22 years old, so to speak, in the longevity of his baseball career. But in terms of, we love to talk about the Ian Anderson options, the Mike Soroka options, like it comes to a point where it's like you either figure it out with us in Atlanta or we're going to ship you off for chump change. And this is the kind of story that you're talking about. At least, first of all, you don't want to send him down because he's doing really well. You don't want to send him down too because you want him to get as much possible experience. That way you can make an informed decision this time next year. Hopefully it's not even a decision and he's already a part of the major league rotation. But if that is the case, you hope you have 15 starts worth of a sample size this year to be like, we know we need to keep hanging on to him this time next year.
Yeah, I think that this is a guy that, whenever he's pitching for the early parts of the season, I'm gonna be tuning in. I don't care if I got a wedding in the middle of it.
You'll be tuning in either way.
Yeah, I'll be. I'm just saying, if there's like a guy that I'm gonna be excited to go watch pitch every 5 days, I just think he's so critical.
I think you could say that literally. I know what you're saying, but you could say that about every single pitcher for the Braves. And even when Strider, like literally, I'm tuning in when obviously Sale, reigning Cy Young. I'm going to be tuning. Schwelly is one guy that hopefully I can pat myself and take a victory lap when he's the Braves' best pitcher. And then obviously when Strider gets back, can Lopez replicate that? We're all, curious if Holmes can replace that Charlie Morton production. And then obviously AJ Smith-Shawver's got, electric stuff. Literally every single day, somebody on the mound for the Atlanta Braves will be must-watch TV in one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, it's a blessing, and it's something that the Braves have done really well, developing these young arms. And it doesn't happen like this. It doesn't happen like this very often for any organization. I mean, the Braves are the best in the business at doing it. Even guys that are journeymen like Grant Holmes. I mean, this guy was a nobody, and now we're talking about him as a guy that we feel pretty confident about in the rotation. Jesse Chavez,
he's on.
They know how to develop pitchers and get them to throw strikes and get outs at the major league level. It really is incredible, and I'm excited to see what AJ Smith-Shawver does, and hopefully his first full season with the Braves.